Canto 2. Eternal Secrets Revealed. Sanjay spoke. To Arjuna, who was thus depressed, sorrowful, distraught and distressed, teary-eyed, remorseful and devoid of hope, the following words Krishna spoke. Words of the divine Krishna. Arjuna, from where has this delusion, so untimely within you, arisen? This behavior doesn't behove brave hearts, seekers of fame or heaven, nor stalwarts. Yield not to this impotence of action. Not worthy of you is such a renunciation. This base weak-heartedness has no relevance. Give this up. Stand up, O warrior of eminence. Arjuna replied, Tell me how, as with weapons equipped, stand revered Bhishma and Drona in my sight. Both these great souls I have always worshipped. Even in dreams, them I cannot fight. Instead of killing, the experienced teachers mighty. Even a life spent begging for alms is worthy. For a desire of wealth, if I kill them, the worst of dreaded sins will loom on my head. Killing my foes, my Kauravan brothers, I firmly refuse. From these two outcomes, how can one choose? Our defeating them or our being defeated? As both ways, my own life shall be desecrated. I ask to you in this state of confusion, tell me my right course of action. Thus, afflicted and infected by fear, I seek your refuge. Show the way, teacher. I am unable to see what will drive my numbness away. Overwhelming me, this sorrow is here to stay. No happiness will come from any earthly aristocracy, neither godhood nor by an absolute supremacy. Sanjay said, To Arjuna, the mighty, who had even mastered sleep, to he who was unstable and in darkness deep, O king, to him Shri Krishna then spoke. The warrior within Arjuna he sought to provoke. To him the divine Krishna thus exclaimed. Standing in the middle of the warfield, he proclaimed, in a voice laced with a mild tinge of laughter. Between both armies, he spoke in this manner. The voice of Krishna. You weep for whom tears shouldn't be shed, yet you speak the language of the enlightened over those who are or who are going to be dead. One mustn't grieve. This the wise have clearly said. There was never a time when I existed not, neither a time when you nor these kings were not. In the future too, such a time the world won't see, when every single one of us will not be. Just as your soul, when in this body, silently resides, childhood, youth and old age, it consensually abides. After leaving this body, another one it acquires. The wise grieve not and know that the soul never expires. Arjuna, your physical body and senses suffer and wear. Heat, cold, joy and misery's effects they have to bear. Know them to be fleeting sensations of body and mind. They too shall pass. Endure, you shall thus find. Who by these sensations are not imbalanced or affected. Who in happiness and pain remain poised and unaffected. O Arjuna, only such men with the strongest foundation are deep enough to attain the liberation. Falsehood is that which holds no authority, and truth is omnipresent in every territory. The essence of both have been shown by the wisest of seers, to whom it was known. This truth of the indestructible self you must see. From the same self the visible world came to be. And there is no one on earth who is so capable of destroying that self which is undestroyable. The physical body is untrue and perishes. This has been known without doubt over the ages. Its proven mortality, why do you question? Brace yourself to fight, O Bharat's son. Those who think that they kill this self, or those who think that the self is dead, are both in their ignorance only misled, as the self is neither the killer nor the killed. Neither is the self born, nor does it get killed, neither is it created, nor will it ever be destroyed. The self is primeval and ancient and birthless, deathless, even when the physical body perishes. The knowledge of the self that is ageless is that it is true, indestructible and birthless. So again, who is the man who is the killer? And who is the man who is killed? Just like old garments are discarded when shoddy, and thus for newer clothes they make way, the old physical bodies too are cast away by the self, which then acquires a new body. That which no weapon can decapitate, that which no inferno can incinerate, that which even the waters can wet not, and which the mighty winds can dry not. This self, indestructible and incombustible, is immutable, imperishable and insoluble. In its inertial stillness it is omnipresent, ageless and timeless. Everywhere it is present. This invisible self by mind cannot be conceived. About the blemishless self thus is said and perceived. This knowledge of the self you must realize and see. Indeed, how pointless it is for you to lament or grieve. If you think that the self is subject to birth, or if you think that it is subject to death, either ways, O mighty armed warrior, it is not right to grieve in this manner. For he who has taken birth, death is certain, and for he who has died, birth is certain. Death or birth is but an inevitable situation. It is not proper to bemoan on any occasion. The beginning before the birth is unknown. The middle lifespan of birth alone is known. What happens after death is also unknown. Hence, O Arjuna, what causes you to mourn? Some people see the self as surreal, while some call it surreal and acknowledge. Some others hear about the self as surreal. After hearing of it too, some have no knowledge. Seated within the bodies of every being physical, O Arjuna, the self is invincible and eternal, and thus for the sake of every individual being, it is improper and incorrect for you to be grieving. Your dharma, moral duty you must consider, and from it you most definitely mustn't falter. For the warriors who to uphold the right fight, nothing is most appropriate but to defend the right. When such a bellicose moment abruptly presents, on its own accord, it opens the doors of heaven. The warrior, O Arjuna, only joyfully consents, for they consider this chance sacred and God-given. But if you, in this battle for justice, do not participate, and your duties you fail to dissipate, you will gain no fame for this sin of inaction, but instead bear the consequences of abstention. And also all the people shall speak for eternity of this ill action, harboring only disrespect. For those who by their deeds have earned respect, even death is far more glorious than notoriety. Out of fear you have deserted the war, so of you the greatest of warriors shall think. The esteem that you have earned you will scar. From your stature and grace you will fall and sink. Your enemies shall insult your adeptness, ridiculing your prowess as ineptness. Alas, how painfully agonizing this shall be. Anything worse than this do you see? In this mighty battle to uphold the right, even the heaven's doors shall open on defeat. Or your victory the whole earth shall joyously greet. Success is certain. Arjuna, rise up and fight. In both sorrow and joy, if you hold your poise, in either profit or loss, by not seeking a choice. If you wage this war with this state of mind, certainly there is no sin that you will incur or find. Listen to what now I am going to reveal. The knowledge, O Arjuna, that lifts the wheel. That most ancient yoga of knowledge, which liberates one from karma's bondage. Here, the actions once begun bring no losses, or any negative results or consequences. Even the smallest action, done in the right manner, can protect one from the greatest danger. The decisive selfless intelligence, all as one perceives, and is unifying, O beloved son of the Kuru clan. But the divisive intelligence of desirers has a wide span that splits like a tree's countless branches and leaves. With eloquence and flowery language, men orate, despite limited intelligence, when they narrate, quoting the Vedas with their pseudo-interpretation. They dismiss the divine origin of the world's creation. Desiring deeply the fruits of worldly wealth, lustfully they seek the heavens and good birth. Ritual-like their actions further merely one motive, to achieve through every sacrifice a material objective. In the fruits of every action, their senses are held sway, allured, their fickle minds meekly wander away. Such people whose intelligence is thus unfocused never attain contentment and are always depressed. O Arjuna, it is in the Vedas that the truth is contained. The threefold qualities within man are explained. The true state wherein every desire is conquered, and the net non-dual consciousness that is acquired. Just as all the usefulness of water in a well is all encompassed in a reservoir replete, so too is all the Vedic knowledge as well, known to him who has the self-realization complete. Vested you are with the authority to perform, but not seek your actions' fruits in any form. When, by the fruits of actions, you aren't motivated, from discharging your duties, you never get deviated. Perform your every action in this yogic way. All attachments, Arjuna, you must throw away. From accomplishments and loss, find your release. Then shall you attain the yogic poise and peace. O Arjuna, the pursuit of fruit is only base and ignoble. This is yoga's essence, as per the knowledgeable. Seek refuge in its principles practicable, because seekers of fruits of actions are despicable. With this knowledge, in this very world itself, from good and bad actions, one can free oneself. Knowing this, engage yourself in this karma yoga. Detachment, yet excellence in works, is only yoga. The most enlightened amongst men are thus aware, and for the fruits of efforts they don't care. Liberated from the bondages of birth they stand, and in the highest conscious states they land. When the mind thus illumined becomes, and the desire's web it overcomes, one becomes free, detached, and undisturbed towards all that was and all that will be heard. When from the disturbances of all that is heard, you become steady and unperturbed, an awakened state of Samadhi is then attained, and the union with the cosmic divine is obtained. Arjuna asked, O Krishna, what is this state awakened? What are the indications and signs observed? How does such a person in Samadhi talk? How does he sit? How does he walk? Shri Krishna spoke, Arjuna, when a person gives up all the desires that the mind conjures and aspires, and is steady and immersed only in the self, such a person dwells in the state of the awakened self. When one suffers not in times of distress, and in happiness exuberance one doesn't express. When you see someone free from anger and fear, it is clearly understood that a sage is near. Such a person who is thus detached, and to neither virtue nor sin is he attached, when in all moments a poise is maintained, the awakened mind he is said to have attained. Like a tortoise receding into its shell's safety over all six senses, when he claims mastery, from everything he can then withdraw himself and dwell in the awakened state of the self. The sensual temptations one may strongly desist, and all attractions one may control and resist, but still the yearning may remain and persist. For the awakened one only, even desire's root doesn't exist. O Arjuna, even amongst men who are wisest, even those who make the efforts hardest, the senses agitate them to go astray, and these defeated minds lose their way. Capable of controlling the senses is only he who focuses and meditates upon me. For when the sensual distractions one overcomes, his intelligence awakened and illumined becomes. Those intellectuals who over subjects contemplate, attached to those subjects, lost they become, and in their attachment they are by desire overcome, and by desires within themselves anger they generate, and in anger they become hoodwinked by delusion. In delusion their memory only gets clouded. In this forgetfulness their wisdom is destroyed, and this loss of wisdom furthers their annihilation. When one bereft of hatred and desires lives, and no authority to his senses he gives, that champion who reigns in attraction is blessed with the awakened self-satisfaction. Unhappiness in all its forms ends, and all sorrows away this blessing sends. Filling the seeker's mind with ethereal joys, he attains the perfect wisdom's poise. He whose wisdom is not focused, his emotions are also uncontrolled. Uncontrolled emotions only spread disquiet around, and without peace, can happiness ever be found? Wandering to the whims of the senses, the mind to its own preferred sense attaches. This sense mind leads the intelligence astray, just like the wind blowing a rudderless boat away. Therefore, your self-control you must reaffirm, and in all respects hold your determination firm, as he who over his senses has mastery obtained, the state of the illumined mind he has verily attained. For what is night for those lost in material dreams? It is day to the dwellers of the spiritual dreams. And what is day for the seekers of the material mundane? It is the darkness to the illumined man of the spiritual plane. Just like when the many turbulent rivers converge and affect not the vast ethereal ocean as they merge, on reaching the awakened stable mind, all attraction dissolves, not for the one whose mind to the senses' whims revolves. He who from all desires abstains, a complete detachment in life he obtains. From the senses of ownership and ego he is free, and ergo purely at peace he can be. O Arjuna, in this conscious state awakened, the wheel of illusion is forever lifted. If this state up to the time of death is sustained, a merger with the infinite is then attained. Thus ended the second canto of the Bhagavad Gita, where Sri Krishna began to reveal the hidden knowledge to Arjuna, who had been overcome with a terrible depression in the middle of the battlefield.